Folks in the back. Sandra. Márcio Michel.
Sorry. I asked, but he didn't. He couldn't. Said he's sleeping now. I can come.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
That was not half bad, but it wasn't half good. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now it's better.
Much better. Welcome. Today is Sunday, August 21st. Beautiful day outside. So happy to be alive and enjoying the gifts that God gives us every day, especially when everything is bright, warm, and not too rainy. We got a bit of rain, but not too much. Welcome to our Sunday public lectures. I welcome everybody who might be joining us through Facebook or Fab TV. It's always a pleasure to have our friends from around the world watching us every Sunday. The theme of the month is life in the spiritual world. And today we're very fortunate to have our brother Marcos Diclei, who's going to talk to us and explain a little bit what are the occupation and missions of the spirits. Well, they're in the spiritual world, discarnated. We never stop working. That's the bad news. The good news is that work is ever more rewarding to us as we continue to do so. All ready to get started. I'll come back and provide some final comments at the end of the lecture. For now, I would like to invite Danielle to come here and give us the opening reading and prayer. Danielle, so very young father, recent father, brought his baby here for us to see.
David.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So the message is, let us also work, from the book Our Daily Bread, Chico Xavier. And it starts with this quote from the Bible: "Man, why are you doing this? Which you are only man, human like you." Acts 14:15. The cries of Paul and Barnaby to this day resound amidst the faithful students. The Christian family quite often has desired to perpetuate the illusion of the inhabitants of Lystra. The missionaries of the Revelation do not possess privileges regarding the services they have to accomplish. The achievements that we could bring to mind as grace or special prerogatives only express a most profound effort on their part to learn and to put the teachings into practice, together with Jesus. Christ did not found a doctrine involving gods and devotees, individually separated. He created a vigorous system of spiritual transformation for the supreme good, destined to all hearts thirsting for light, love, and truth. In the Gospel, we perceive Magdalene dragging painful deceptions, Paul pursuing ideals of salvation, Peter denying the divine friend, Mark battling in his own hesitations. But even at that point, we contemplate the daughter of Magdala, renewed and pursuing a redeeming path. The great persecutor converted into a messenger of the glad tidings. The fragile disciple being conducted to the spiritual glory, and the hesitant companion transformed into an evangelist for the entire human race. Christianity is the blessed fountain for the restoration of the soul for God. The error committed by many apprentices stems from the idolatry in which they become involved around the valiant exponents of living faith, who accept in the sacrifice the true formula for spiritual evolvement. They imagine then in fanciful thrones bowing at their feet, feeling confused, inept, and miserable, overlooking the fact that the Father concedes the required energy for a successful victory to all his children. Logically, we should all pay respect to and love the great representatives of the Christian path. On the other hand, we cannot forget that Paul and Peter, as were many others, originated from the human weaknesses toward the celestial gifts, and that the terrestrial planet is a school of illumination, power, and triumph, any time that we seek to understand its great mission. So now let's close our eyes. Let's thank God, our Creator, Jesus, our Master, for being present in this beautiful house, in this great day. Let's thank all the opportunities for all the teachings that we have in our daily lives, that we may follow the example of Christ through acts of goodness, of charity, and of true love, and that all the good spirits that enlighten this house may guide our friend Diclei to bring us great teachings that can stick into our hearts and minds. So be it.
Thank you, Daniel, Joe, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I need to correct. I need to correct your kind mention. I think I am the fortunate one to be here among all of you, and fortunate enough to have had the chance to study a little bit more about our loved Spiritist doctrine. That make us better every day, and we are nothing without Spiritism. If someone who is actually watching us, or someone here is present, is actually having its first contacts with the doctrines, with the Spiritist doctrine, we strongly encourage you to start in the source, the pure water of Spiritism that comes from Allan Kardec. So we encourage you to start doing that. We have study groups here that study this book. As soon as we finish, we start again. And every time we read, we learn something new. So we are going to do a little exercise and give everyone a little taste of what we do in our study groups. We are going actually to go through some of the questions today that talks about occupations and missions of the spirits. Some people say, it's too complicated to read. I don't understand. I think it's more about the habit of reading, the discomfort of reading something that touches some areas of ourselves that we don't like it very much. Therefore, we say it's too difficult, I don't want to read it, and then we put it aside. But as soon as we give the first step and start to dig into it, we actually have a paradigm change in our minds, and the change starts to come. So here's the invitation to everyone to read and study the Spirit's book, and we'll go into that. If you're also new to the Spiritism, the news is Allan Kardec killed death, or the spirits killed death. Interesting, right? But there's no death. There's death for our bodies, physical bodies, but we never die. We are immortal spirits. And last week, our dear brother Tiago spoke to us about death, and we could see that life goes on. But the question is, if we understand that, is what do we do after death? What are the occupations of the spirits after that? And how about when we incarnate? We learn that if we are not enough perfect, we have to come back for the incarnation. That's why we are all here. That's another learning. If we feel that some of us are perfect, we shouldn't be here unless we are really missionaries, per se, which is likely not the case. Certainly not my case. So we are here to learn. So we have occupations as incarnated spirits as well. And there are missionaries, as we often call, both sides in the spiritual realm and also here as incarnated. So we are going to touch on some of those points today and help us to understand. And I know we are all, we were discussing in the morning, right? We are all young here. We are youth. We're just youth for a longer time than our teenagers, but we are still young. And when we are in these ages, right, of the teens, we often ask, what's our purpose in life? Why we are here? And bless you, as a personal experience, and I can say that I had this desire to find what's my mission. And I thought it would be really big, something big. It has to be something meaningful and big, right? And I would look at the icons of humanity, and when I'm going to find my calling, my purpose in life, and we think it's something really big. And then years after I finished my graduation in school and started working, then I found myself working, and is this really my mission? It feels more like an expiation, right? Because I'm here carrying rocks and it's hard to see. Is this the purpose in life, right? Sometimes, personal case, working for a bank. Is this a purpose in life? Is this my contribution to the world? And we all expected something big. So it took me a while to understand what is really our mission is all about. And sometimes when we expect things to be big, that's a call, it's an inner calling for us to look at our pride. Because we want to be bigger than we are, right? Or we want a big mission, maybe not to contribute, but to show off how good we are. That in itself is part of our mission to learn, right? And when we think about our occupations, as I used to think about my occupation as an expiation, right? Our favorite moment of our occupations and our favorite acronym is this, right? What is this? Thank God it's Friday, right? Oh, here comes Monday. Tuesday, Monday is behind, but we're still going through it. Wednesday, halfway through it. Thursday, here it comes. Friday, here comes the weekend. So that's how we feel about our occupations. And we have a hard time finding meaning in our earthly occupations, right? That's how it is. And there's a TV program called Dirty Jobs, and if you ever watch it, you see some really tough jobs, cleaning stuff and going to places that we would rather not. Sometimes our jobs, our occupations feel like that, right? And we ask ourselves, is that really my mission, right? It really feels like carrying rocks, as I mentioned before. And there's an interesting story, actually. A friend of mine told me once during one of the seminars and trainings. And he said there was a group of men working in stones like this, right? Breaking stones in different shapes. And he approached one man and said, "What you doing?" I'm doing this darn job in breaking stones the entire day, and I can't wait to go home, like the GIF, right? That was it. Very negative, right? And he was doing his job careless. And then he approached someone else, and he asked him, "What you doing?" And he said, "Well, I'm breaking these rocks to build a wall, and that's my profession, right? And it's a tough job, but that's what I do." It was a bit better, less negative, right? For him, it was about the wall and doing what he was supposed to do. And then he approached the third man and asked him, "How about you? What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm building a cathedral." For him, he had a bigger purpose than just breaking the stones or building a wall. He, in his mind, would leave a legacy that could be connected to his faith, his community, his spirit of service. So it changed the perspective completely, right? And sometimes we have a hard time. And he even observed the man looking at the stone to make sure it was properly squared. He sees himself more like an artist, right? So purpose is very important for us. And we all need to find that calling so that we can better understand why we are where we are. Even with our daily occupations that seem so trivial. Even in our professions that seem so material or materialistic or earthly connected, there's always something in it for us. Maybe something for us to learn, maybe help us to transform ourselves. And we just need a little bit of silence to hear that, to understand that. So just in itself is a takeaway for all of us to reflect in our own day-to-day missions, right? So Allan Kardec asked exactly that question. Talk about occupations and missions. He asked about the missions while we are incarnated, right? So I want to read this question, 573 here. So what does the mission of an incarnate spirit entails? What is this all about, right? Is it really super special missionaries? So we actually don't have a mission, or everyone has one? And the spirits answer, instructing human beings or helping them to advance, improving their institutions by direct and material means, those are missions, right? Missions are of various degrees of generality and importance. However, the one who cultivates the soil fulfill a mission as surely as the one who rules or teaches. So, what would be of earth if we only have, lawyers and smart people dedicated to science? Who would plant the food that we eat? Who would clean the streets so we avoid to have a chaos in the city or diseases spreading everywhere? So every single occupation is a mission in itself, right? Every single occupation is relevant. Everything in nature is linked together. At the same time, in which a spirit is purifying itself through incarnation, it is also working to fulfill the designs with providence. And we remember Paul of Tarsus telling his fellow workers of the church at that time that spiritual illumination comes in first place in everything that we do. How can we expect to transform the world if we are not transforming our inner world, right? Taking care of our soil. We could even understand here's a little bit analogy here, right? The one who cultivates the soil fulfills a mission. And we have the soil of our hearts to cultivate. So that the seed that Christ planted here, or the seed that God placed in our immortal spirits, can actually germinate. So that in itself is one of our missions. So we don't need to expect to win the Nobel Prize. Probably we would forget about the Nobel Prize when we discarnate anyway, right? So that's unimportant. And then Allan Kardec actually asks as well, common occupations would seem to be duties, right? Rather than missions per se. That's how we usually see what we do in life. How can we tell if persons have a real mission on earth? A real mission is really something more relevant. Let's put it this way. How can we tell if someone really has a mission? Someone's really a missionary? Anyone want to guess? Okay. So the Spirit says in a very simple way, by the great things they do and by the progress they enable their fellow beings to make. So it's by the progress that they bring to humanity. So it's really not about a missionary who comes to be someone really smart that we are all admire and be famous. It's about how much service and contribution they add to humanity, advance the progress to humanity. Could be on arts, could be on science, could be in the medicine field or technology field. They are everywhere, right? They are everywhere. Now, something that we really don't see as a mission is... I'll skip here. What does that mean? Motherhood, parenting, right? We see more as a carrying rocks sometimes, because it's not easy. but it's truly a blessing. And it is a mission in itself. It's a very important mission. And that's what we learn through Spiritism as well. That our children, they are immortal spirits. They have been around for thousands of years. We don't know. It could be even older than us, wiser than us. But we have the responsibility to help them. It is a big mission. It could be the mission of our lives, to help those spirits to, win the battle with themselves, because they are also in the path of self-improvement. Right? So Allan Kardec asks also the spirits, can parenting be considered a mission? Right? And it's a beautiful answer. It is without any doubt a mission, and at the same time a very great duty, very great responsibility that involves parents more than they may think concerning their responsibilities for the future. So it is a mission, it is a duty. God has placed the children under the care of their parents so they may guide them in the path of the good, and has facilitated their tasks by giving children a frail and delicate organization. So they give the children a little cute appearance, a chubby baby that we want to kiss the entire day, right? Imagine that if we know that it was someone who made us feel really bad in the past, so someone that harmed us in the past, we wouldn't have so much that tendency to love them, right? We have a different reaction. So we have the forgetfulness of the past, which is a blessing, and we have the cute appearance that make us forget anything. So God is wise in all aspects, right? But the children are here for us to guide them, because they're not perfect. They have their virtues, and they have their imperfections, or their vices, or their inferior tendencies, which is actually the theme of the next month. So as parents, we must look at them as immortal spirits, and using love and energy in the right dose, we must guide them and help them to get rid of their imperfections. Right? That's a subject for a seminar here, but we often tend to be very what's the word, complacent with their imperfections, right? No, he's just a kid, right? No, he's knocking each other in the face. Nah, they're just playing. He's such a strong boy. Look at him, yeah. And then when you grow up at 14, they are knocking in your face. So we need to observe, right, as an external observer, what's happening here. And guide them and mold them. And we learn from the manual on Chico Xavier, that's the best time to guide them, like you guide a plant and how it's shaping, is up to 7 years old. After that, here comes the wings, as we say, of the teenagers. Right? They're putting up their wings to fly. They recover their personalities with much strength. So the mission of parenting we must not neglect. So I'll stop right here for now. And then, are we always successful in our missions while on earth? Can a spirit fail? No? We always succeed.
More likely that we always fail.
We all fail.
We are more likely to fail than to succeed because of our imperfections, because of how much our imperfections vibrate with the world, with the things that we have available in our world, material sensations, our inferior passions, right? So we are very likely to fail, more likely to fail than to succeed. And when we talk about occupations and missions of the spirits, we gotta remember the works of André Luiz and Chico Xavier. And they describe in detail everything that happens in the spiritual world. And in the book, The Messengers, there is a center to prepare mediums like you all, like me, to come to Earth. And during the conversations and looking at the reincarnatory plan of all those spirits, right? André Luiz learned through one of the coordinators over there that rare are those who complete their missions 100%. Very rare. Right? So it is very difficult. And with that we can appreciate how important it is for us to keep our hearts in balance, connected with our beloved Master Jesus, because He is the compass, right? And every time we go astray, we get into trouble, right? So it's very important to remain with Him, to give our children our religion, whichever it is, as long as it conducts us to good. Right? Now, this is all about the incarnate realm, right? Our incarnations. But we learned as well through Spiritism that through the successive incarnations we improve and we keep improving and we go through the different spirits evolutionary stages, right? Up to a point that we no longer even need to reincarnate anymore, right? So what happens after them? If we don't have to reincarnate and go through all these struggles and our occupations to learn, what do we do? And that's one of the questions that Allan Kardec asked, right? Are the spirits most advanced? What are they doing? And what do we think they do? Boing, boing. We think about the image of the angels playing harp in the clouds, right? And there's even one here, wow, I have a real estate agent and I want a place I don't need to mow the lawn, I don't need to shovel the snow, I just want to come and play my harp for the eternity. That's an image that many of us have, but that's not the case actually. But let's see the answer to this. What do the spirits reply to Allan Kardec? So the question 562, right? What do they do? And the answer is, what do you think they are doing for all eternity? Eternal idleness would be eternal torture. Imagine we go through all the struggles and we achieve perfection, and then, so what? What do we do now? Well, sit over there and rest for eternity. That sounds like hell, not heaven, right? Because if we take a break, at least some of us, we take a couple weeks, a couple days, a break on vacation, all of a sudden we are, okay, what do I do now? We want to get back to work and go back home and do our stuff, right? We all have things to do. We are made to be in activity. It becomes empty. Even when we are working sometimes, we have these questions about our purpose, our mission. It's automatic. It's a questioning that we can help. It comes automatically. As if we have a reminder in our brain asking us, what are you doing to others? Are you serving others? Are you fulfilling your purpose? Even if we want to forget about it, it comes. So the pure spirits, they couldn't ever be on that state of comfort with doing nothing. Eternal idleness, right? So that is not the answer, absolutely not. And then there's another question. Would they ever rest if there's no idleness, right? Does it mean that they are in eternal activity? There's no Friday over there? Is that what you're saying? There's no thank God it's Friday in the spirit realm? Well, over there is a bit different. It's thank God it's today. It's TGIT. And that in itself is a lesson for us. I think we should get used to that, right? If we still catch ourselves, oh, it's Monday. As Joe said very well, we should be very thankful for being here today. Reincarnated in this planet, which is a blessed university of our souls. And for more that we have our struggles, there is a long line of people in the spirit realm who would like to be here, going through the same struggles that we are going right now. Because it's an opportunity for us to amend the mistakes we've done in the past. It's an opportunity for us to be useful, to fulfill our calling as creatures of God. So we should train ourselves for this, right? Thank God it's today. So every time you hear a co-worker, TGIF, remind them, TGIT, thank God it's today, right? It's a brain it's a mind programming. And one day, we will actually incorporate that. We will see the Monday being a bit different. But anyway, that's how it is in the spiritual life. So if we want to make our transition easier, let's get ready. There's no Fridays over there anticipating a weekend of much rest, because our minds never rest. Didn't we study a couple weeks ago about sleep and dreams? Our body shut down for its own processing and everything to rest, but our spirits just wander around, right? So if we do that while incarnated, when we are discarnate, it's the same process. It's not going to change. Now, there's another questions here about the missions and occupations of the evolved spirits. But how about the less evolved spirits? Spirits that are more like us. Do we also have occupations there, or just for the high evolved spirits, right? So that's the question Allan Kardec asked. Do less evolved spirits also perform useful role in the universe? So we need to wait to be perfect to work over there, right? So 559. Let's take a look at what it says on 559. All spirits have duties to fulfill. So everyone have a duty to fulfill. Doesn't the least of the masons concur in the construction of a building as much as the architect? As we saw the man's breaking the rocks, there is someone, an engineer who made the project, and an architect who made the design and everything. But if we stop there, it's only going to be on the paper. Who is actually breaking the rocks and putting them together and raising those walls, right? So everyone has a task. Everyone has a role. As we have it here in Earth, it's the same thing in the spiritual realm. So it doesn't change over there. Okay, so that is good. But let's bring that even closer to us. Don't we have some of the students in school that for more the teachers talk to them and give them the lessons, they just cross their arms and say, forget about it, I'm not going to study, I'm not even going to school, I'm not going to do that test. So don't we have those rebellious students? Maybe we have been some of those, or we were some of those, right? So let's think about the spirit realm. If we have people on earth today that actually refuse to work and they just want to take advantage of others in all levels of the society, right? Imagine the spirit realm. So don't we have some of those that would just cross their arms, and while they see people, TGIT, and they are, come on, I want to rest. So what about those guys? So if there's no idleness for the superior spirits, don't we have free will? Can we just discarnate and say that, you know what, I discarnated already, I worked my entire life, and I was told that there is heaven, and I'm here to rest. So I don't care what you say, I'm not going to work. We could do that. There's free will, right? So that's exactly the question here. Are there among the spirits those who are idle, who do not want to occupy themselves with anything useful? So what happens there then? Question 564. Yes, there are those spirits who will do exactly like that. They will refuse to work, they will cross their arms and do whatever they want. But, there's always the but. It is temporary. Temporary. And if we study the Spirit's book already, if you join us on Wednesdays or Thursday, there is part of the laws of God that governs the universe. There's a law of progress. And the law of progress tells that we have to advance. We never go back and unlearn something. As Eduardo from the TSS Youth said the other day, it's like riding a bike. You never forget. So once you learn something, you don't unlearn, you advance. You can stop, but the law of progress says for a while. For a while. So it's temporary, and it's depends on the development of the intelligence. Certainly, as among humans, there are those who live only for themselves, a very selfish manner. Such idleness, nonetheless, waits on them, and sooner or later their desire to progress, steers the need for activity, and they are glad to make themselves useful once again. So we just spoke about our vacation, that all of a sudden we are tired of resting, right? You know what? I need to go back to my family, to my home stuff, to my volunteer stuff, to my job. It feels that we get tired of resting, right? Because of that calling. So that's how we are. We are wired to serve and contribute to others. So if we are idle for too long, it starts to bother us. It may be pain that we see around and pain from the external world hitting us, or just an internal pain because it's empty. Haven't you heard people who are millionaires on earth? They have everything and they retired at young age, but they are not happy. You go to a favela in Rio with that person cleaning the street. Are you happy? Yes, I'm happy. And then you talk to a millionaire. I know I'm pretty alone. And people committing suicide, right? Famous people, they have fame and people admire them and fans. They have everything. And they're committing suicide because they are not happy. So what's happening? Why is that? Because it's empty. There's no meaning. There's no meaning. We can't find the meaning. That's why it's so important for us. So those spirits who are rebelling and they decide to cross their arms, it's temporary. Sooner or later, they will attend their inner call. They will wake up. Such as we incarnated, right? We look at people, how come that person is doing that? Well, just give it some time. Sooner or later, that person will wake up, right? What can we do for them? Pray for them, right? Sometimes we expect people, when they discarnate immediately, that they will be available to help us. And that's not how it works. Unless we're talking about missionaries, high evolved spirits, that they discarnate and it's like a blink of an eye. For most of us, we go through a very tough period of adjustment, like Tiago covered before. So the best we can do for them is pray for them so they can recover their energies and get back on track with their progress. So we are in a condition to help them instead of otherwise, right? They may understand that idleness, it's not the way to go. Now there's another question here. While they discarnate and they remain in the spiritual world, will those spirits actually interfere in our lives? Or they are segregated completely in the spiritual world and we are here in the material world? What do you think? Will they ever interfere in our lives?
All the time.
All the time. I see some heads nodding. Absolutely. And is there such a thing like the spiritual world and our world? Spiritual world is everywhere. We are all connected, right? Right here, there are spirits right here on the street, everywhere. So we are all connected, right? So that's the question here. If the spirits actually interfere with our occupations in life. Okay, actually the question is 567. So see here. Commonplace spirits, as you call them, yes. So spirits more at our level, right? They will interfere. They are unceasingly around you, like Sandra said. At times, they take a very active part in what we do, according to their nature. So if they are, spirits that are more evolved than us and they are interesting to help, they will interact with us to help. But if they are inferior spirits, moved by inferior desires and passion, they are not going to be very interesting to help. They may be interested in do harm, or they may be interested in sustain their own vices, their own imperfections, right? By sucking something out of us, something good out of us, or something not so good out of us, right? It is good that they do so in order to drive men and women forward in their different walks of life, exciting or moderating our passions. So the spirits are everywhere. And as we learned from Tiago, We don't become angels because we discarnate. If we have inferior tendencies right now and we discarnate in a few minutes, we will carry the same tendencies. If they are positive, great, we will carry with us, we will carry that desire to help, and maybe we will be able to assist someone if we have that condition. These are our spirit protectors, right? They come, they are more evolved than us, and they are with us to help and assist us. But if we carry inferior tendencies, right, and we see all stories about addiction, for example, it may not be a spirit who wants to do evil, but if I am addicted after I discarnate, I wanted to continue to absorb what gives me pleasure. So I'll be after people to drink, to consume drugs, and etc. If Joe hurt me while incarnate and I discarnate, I may be after him seeking revenge. And what do we call those spirits? Obsessors. It's one of the reasons for obsessions, right? It's our connections with the spirits. So that's how sometimes they meddle in our occupations, right? So as you can see, occupations and missions happen in all states, while we are incarnated or while we are discarnated. We all have our own missions. We all have our own occupations. Now, are only the advanced spirits who have those missions? Well, we learned that no, but it's in different proportions, right? So here's the questions. What do the missions that may be entrusted to the spirits entail? So what are the kind of missions? So let's think about spirits at the order of Jesus, right? It's the purest spirit we ever know on earth as a Christ. And he really came to transform our planet, to transform our hearts, to teach us the laws of God. What a sublime mission as a pure spirit. And it was a very difficult mission. If we care to learn a little bit about his life, I think we can see a little bit of what he went through. And that's enough for us to appreciate it. And in the eyes of humanity, he was a loser for many. But for the spiritual world, he triumphed, right? He accomplished his mission. He transformed and continued to transform our hearts for millennia. If we think about spirits like Allan Kardec, for example, we can see his missionary spirit coming to earth and bring us the Spiritism. And there's even a message from one of the books from Chico Xavier and Humberto de Campos. It's called Kardec and Napoleon. Even Napoleon had a mission, which was actually to come to earth and prepare France, giving the security and the stability of the country and of the region for Allan Kardec's incarnation. On that message, Napoleon is brought to the spiritual realm. Was Allan Kardec is the spirit at the moment, and he was assisting Napoleon with his mission. Allan Kardec in the spiritual world and Napoleon incarnated. And then as soon as Allan Kardec starts to prepare for his reincarnation, which means he gave a little break of his mission assisting Napoleon, nominated himself emperor, and from that on things went south for him, right? But we can see that even Napoleon, from what we hear from, he had an important mission, an important commitment with the spiritual realm, right? If we think about Divaldo Franco, who started his mission very quietly in Brazil, adopting some poor children, feeding them, and adopted a second, and adopted a third, and adopted 100, and today there's probably more than 1,000 people living in the mansion. I don't know how many people.
No, they don't live in the mansion anymore. They have more day kids, but over the years, I think it's over 3,000 kids.
3,000 kids.
Through
So what a mission,
charity.
right? While he had his profession, his job, he didn't leave of the donation. He had his job, as we all have, and did all that. Not even mention his work as a medium, right? with all the books and the works in the Spiritist Center. So we can see some of the missions of spirits on earth, right, as missionaries. And they continue their work in the spiritual realm, assisting others where they are incarnated. Most of us heard about Emmanuel, who was the spiritual guide of Chico Xavier, right? And he was with Chico along the way, assisting him with his work, guiding him with his work, right? We read through the books of André Luiz that families like ours every day receive assistance from the spiritual workers that may visit us because of our prayers or because of the intercessions of our relatives. They come to assist us. When someone gets pregnant, we think it's just a biologic phenomenon, and we have no idea about the teams that come to assist with the process to have the fecundation happening, right? Engineers from the spiritual realm assisting the DNA formation and shaping the body according to the spiritual body. So there are many spirits in charge of such missions, right? There's even spirits in charge of controlling the forces of nature, the weather, right? The plants, the animals, the oceans, all according to their evolution, right? It's like a company. If I join a company distributing the mail, I don't have likely the formation for defining the strategy of the company. That is for people who went through the university or has previous experience. So each one according to our possibilities. But as we evolve, we will be given more responsibilities, right? So that's the missions on the spirits. And then Allan Kardec also asked, are those missions imposed or we ask for them? What do you think? We ask for them. And funny enough, we see some stories from André Luiz that we often ask more than what we can chew, right? We bite more than what we can chew, as we say. We are like superheroes. You know what? Now give it to me. I will help Marceli and Joe and Sandra. I can be their spirit guardian all at once. Bring it. And the spirits say, yeah, let's go lower. Let's go a little bit lower, right? Let's give someone, one person, and we go with that. So we usually go that way. But that's true. If we have the condition, the preparation, we can actually ask for our missions. But the spirits tell Allan Kardec in the book, in the question 572, that they are not always attended. Not always attended. Because there are way more people asking for missions who are opportunities actually to do something good, to learn, to evolve, to amend their mistakes, and they have to wait. That's why when we think about discarnating, some of the spirits say, you know what? The progress that we don't do in this incarnation, I can do in the next one. Who knows when the next one will happen? We think, no, that's not the way. We discarnate and then we just can just ask for another incarnation, we'll come back. It's pretty easy. That's not that way. That is for the dogs, for the cats, when they immediately discarnate with their intelligent principle and incarnate again. Because they are not spirits yet. But it's not the same for us, right? It's not the same for us. And then my final observation here before we conclude, and I was talking to Joe about this. When we read this chapter about occupation and missions of the spirits, we don't see a lot of reference to some of the inferior occupations that some of the spirits have. I mentioned here about obsession, right? When a spirit seek for revenge, right? And we want to harm someone because we think they did something to us. There's not a lot of reference to those negative, inferior occupations. Like someone who may be after you so that you can have 3, 4, 5 beers and get drunk so they can absorb your energy, absorb the alcohol from you, as we call the vampires. That's how they work. We don't see a lot of reference here. I was wondering, why is that, Joe? Well, maybe it's because they left such examples for the law of destructions or for the influence of spirits in our lives or other parts of the book. But maybe it's because these are not natural occupations and missions of the Spirit. It's not meant to be that way. God does not give us such occupations and such missions. Those are our creations because of our imperfections, right? That's probably why the spirits, when they answer those questions, they stay on the positive side. Because all the inferior things that we see the spirits doing, it's not meant to be that way. It's not the natural state that we are destined to, right? We are destined to happiness. We are destined to goodness. We are destined to love. And every time that we go out of that path, then we see pain, we see suffering, we see inferior things. That's why the world is unfortunately with so many of those things. It's not because of God. It's because of us. And if we want to change that, we've got to start changing every single one of us. Now, to wrap up, I actually wanted to ask you. You may say, I'm pretty lazy today. Now, I wanted to hear from you, right? I think from every lecture, we may want to take a few things back home that we can actually reflect and apply to ourselves. At least that's how I saw this study. I would like to open up and maybe have 3 things to take away from our quick conversation. I'll read this in a minute. So, anything that called your attention about these missions or your personal mission? I will start with the main one here, which is the fact that we all have a mission in life. And it may not be as shining as we would expect because of our pride, right? It may not turn ourselves into a famous person, but the main mission is really that we go back home, which is our spiritual realm, better than we here arrived. And sometimes it's so hard to do it, so why don't we do it on a smaller scale and say, well, maybe I wish I'm better today than I was yesterday, and better tomorrow than I am today. That's a good start. So we go one step at a time. But I think this is the most important thing. The missions are not for the pure spirits only. We all have our missions. And when we look at our occupations, when we say, thank God it's Friday, reflect, why do I have this job? Why can I learn from this job or from this occupation? Right? Complaining about cleaning the dirty dishes, why can I learn from it? Well, I could learn to be thankful. There's plenty of people who would like to have a pile of dirty dishes. They don't have home. They don't have food. So their dishes are pretty clean. They don't get dirty because they don't have food. Here we are complaining. So I think every occupation is an opportunity for us to reflect and learn something. Right? Because we complain a lot. That's number 1 here. Anyone else? Anyone from the internet, Olivia? Okay, so another one here, the second one actually, is how we connect with others, right? We discussed about how these spirits actually interfere in our occupations. What kind of spirits are interfering with our occupations? With our volunteering job, with the work at the Spiritist Center, with education for children. If we have challenges at home, no one here had challenges at home, right? No, absolutely. So if we have challenges at home, what kind of spirits are interfering with our desire to resolve? Good spirits that want to help, or inferior spirits who want to see things even worse?
Both.
We could both, but we have a choice on to whom we connect. And the takeaway, at least for me personally, is let's make an effort to connect with the good ones. Let's be less negative. Let's pray more. Let's be more positive. Because the best way to attract good spirits, right, and have the inferior spirits being assisted away from us, because we are not in condition to assist them yet, is through prayer. Is to changing who we are. And that's a slide that I missed here. This one. When we look at our homes, who wants change? Yeah, I want to change my home. Who wants to change? I want my wife to change. I don't want to change. I want my husband to be better. I'm good enough. Right? So let's take the initiative. And as Gandhi said, do you want to see a better world? So be the change you want to see in the world. It's one person at a time. Oh, Brazil is full of corrupt people, right? But I'll go there and grab $10 from my wife and give it to my children and say, oh, don't tell mom, but here's $10 for you. Well, what are we teaching them? We talk about corruption. Why we have a corrupted population? Why do we have a corrupt people? Because we have a corrupt person. It's person by person, right? That's how it starts. And let's try to find our call, right? And be useful as much as we can. Those are my takeaways. And just a comment here that Sandra wrote, the Mansão do Caminho from Divaldo Franco assists 3,200 children per day. They give 5,000 plates of food per day, and even taking care of elder and assisting in charity, giving clothes and shelter and medical treatment, dentist and etc. Right? And Divaldo doesn't make a penny out of it. So I think not everyone can do what he does, but we can all start again one step at a time. Helping those who are among yourselves at home, in your jobs, at work, in the Spiritist Center, and we go from there. And I hope this gives everyone a little bit of reflection to help ourselves with our missions of self-enlightenment. Sure.
Thank Marcos for a wonderful lecture. We still have a couple of minutes. Questions, comments? No
Any
questions?
takeaway from anyone? I just shared my takeaways.
Well, the takeaway I would add is that having an occupation is a blessing. Right? We sometimes complain about our jobs, but what if we don't have a job?
Yeah.
Another takeaway is to do today, not leave for the next time we come back to it.
For those who didn't hear, what Otto said is a takeaway for him is to do today what we want to do and not leave it for tomorrow, right? We may not be here tomorrow. Who knows?
Thank you very much.
Sorry,
Go
my
ahead.
takeaway was that we ask for those great missions. The spirits tell us to
Lower a bit.
lower that a little bit, and then when you get here, we say, "Oh my God, I cannot do this," right? So it was like, get encouraged to really do what we think that could be in our mission and try it, because
Yeah.
could be, and we're just saying, no, it's too much, and it's what we could do.
Yeah.
My other takeaway is that given how informed you are, I do not want you as an obsessor. So I'll try not to hurt you in any way in this life.
Thank you. Rest
Thank
assured.
you. Thank you very much. There's a point? Comment.
So Natalia says, we all want a big mission and we think that we will do it through our jobs. But look at Shiku. He was a public worker and that was not his mission. His mission was the unpaid work on his free time.
Excellent point. So it's all about...
You should repeat.
The point was that Chico Xavier is always a great example for us, and his profession was to be a public servant, and he was a good servant, but that wasn't his mission. His mission was everything else he did in life that he didn't do as a job. He did it as a charity to all of us.
So the question is what we're doing with our free time as well.
Yeah.
That's another
What is free time?
What is free time? For Chico Xavier? Free time.
Okay, thank you. We will now get prepared for our passes. Thank you very much for those who are online, for your comments, for your presence. We always treasure and enjoy them. And I hope to see you, virtual folks, here next week. Sandra, Jo,
Ana,
Ana e Michel. Você faz a prece.